This is what happens to every South Park character in the future. Starting off with Butters, who as a child is lovable, happy, and completely oblivious to the horrible nature of all the people around him.
You know, I think the car might be moving, Mom. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the car's moving. Looks like I'm heading for the water.
However, this innocence is then completely stripped away from him, as after Randy has his way with the pangolin and creates the lockdown, Butters' parents ground him for 40 years. And with nothing but a mobile phone to keep him company, Butters turns into a complete monster.
Well, hey, fellas!
Okay, not a monster, but rather something much worse. An NFT salesman.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. NFTs are gonna blow up. You should really get in now because they're really the future.
Why would I invest in digital good? You can't even, stupid.
That's right, Butters has made billions of dollars by selling his worthless NFTs, with his victims ranging from Denny's Applebee's to even taking advantage of the elderly. And wow, what happened to the boy full of laughter? And Butters has become so evil that Cartman even uses him to distract Jimmy, Token, Wendy, and Randy, whilst he sets up his time machine in order to kill Kyle.
Here, it's a farting rainbow with Tom Brady's signature.
However, thankfully after the boys have their magical Denver Nuggets experience in the past, they are able to fix their broship and return to Denny's Applebee's in the future, where Butters is now working as a waiter.
Hey, fellas! Can I offer you some poo-poos? Thanks for choosing Denny's Applebee's for your party.
And hey, at least it's not NFTs. Although I must say that the best possible future timeline for Butters isn't even his own, as the fictional version of Butters in My Future Self and Me is clearly living a better life than Butters ever will, as he gets paid to watch television all day long.
My name is T. Becker. The T stands for terrific.
And wow, Butters can't even catch a break in the future. And next up, we have Stan, who after touching the devil's lettuce, similarly to Butters, has his parents try to trick him with a future version of himself.
Oh my god, it's the past! Oh, whoa, man, it's you!
Who are you?
It's me, Mom, your son, Stan!
Although, perhaps this isn't the greatest idea, as unlike Butters, Stan isn't completely gullible. And Stan then goes to the most extreme lengths to prove that his parents are lying to him.
Ah! Oh my god, look! Ah! What, his hand did disappear! He is you from the future!
However, his parents had every right to be worried, as Stan would end up going down a dark road in his actual future, as Stan chooses to adopt his father's alcoholism and play it off as his job.
It's not pounding beer and wine. I drop wine shots into the beer. It's called a smorgasbord and it's very cultural.
And boy, like father, like son. Huh. And not only this, but Stan was never able to make things work with Wendy, or any person for that matter, as he ends up pairing up with his Amazon Alexa. And let's just say that these two don't really get along.
It feels shitty, okay? Can you please shut the fuck up?
Why did you even bring me along if you're not going to let me help you through this?
Alexa, stop!
And honestly, it really seems as though Stan has nothing going on in his life, as moving away from South Park has isolated him from all of his friends. But hey, at least he still has his family, right? Well, not exactly, as Randy's antics on Tegrity Farms, including selling out to the Chinese, leads Stan to burn down the entire farm to the ground.
I hate this stupid farm.
However, what Stan doesn't know is that he also burned alive his sister Shelly, which then causes his mom to also leave the earth. And of course, Randy isn't too best pleased with this, as when Stan does eventually visit South Park 40 years later, let's just say they aren't exactly on the best of terms.
Your mom died the day her daughter burned to death.
However, unlike Butters, Stan is able to exceed the expectations of his fictional future self by going back in time. And yeah, that sounds confusing, but bear with me. You see, Stan and the rest of the boys crack Kenny's key to time travel, and they do this by looking in a rather unsavory place.
Hold on. We've got it.
And so, with the newfound love of his friendship group, Stan never moves away from South Park, meaning that he never becomes a disillusioned whiskey taster, and instead, in this version of the future, he gets to go on crusades to Mars with the Space Force.
How is everything on Mars? Really cool, but I'm so glad to be home. How are the kids?
And on top of this, Stan is finally able to achieve his lifelong dream of getting together with Wendy Testerberger. So yeah, overall, I'd say that Stan has done pretty well. Although, a character who hasn't done nearly as well is Cartman. However, before we get into that, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. You see, as someone who is, let's face it, chronically online, I am no stranger to having pesky phishing attempts. And that's why I use Aura. You see, Aura alerts me when my data has been part of a data breach, with a prime example of this being the national public data having 2.9 billion records stolen. And on top of this, Aura also has a VPN, antivirus, password manager, and even has identity theft insurance. And I get this all on one app at one incredibly affordable price. And so, if my data was one of the 2.9 billion records stolen in the national data breach, I wouldn't worry, as Aura is literally always on and doing the hard work of keeping me safe. And if you want to fight back against the hackers and be protected online, then go to aura.com/Harry from Ends and try your first 2 weeks for absolutely free. The link is in the description below, and a massive thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. You see, Eric's future self is quite possibly the most shocking of them all, as it turns out that Eric has become Jewish.
I'm doing really well. I'm actually the head of Gespetza Synagogue down in Colorado Springs. Can you believe it? I'm a rabbi.
That's right, the boy that made fun of Kyle's beliefs for years, and even tried to reinstate the Third Reich, is now Jewish. And boy, none of us saw that one coming. Although, Cartman's new resurgence in faith is rather questionable to say the least, as after all, this is the same boy that once pretended to be Jennifer Lopez, and even Mitch Connor, just to say that he kind of got Kyle.
I got you kinda, I got you kinda.
However, in spite of this, Cartman seems to be living a genuinely great life, becoming a rabbi at the local synagogue, and having a beautiful Jewish family. I mean, hey, just look at those adorable little rascals.
Uncle Cal.
Fuck you, Cap.
Ah, yes, that's right. This is Cartman's family. And Cartman then goes on to prove that he truly is just as manipulative and evil as he always was. As when Kyle and Stan go back in time to stop the lockdown from ruining everyone's lives, Cartman then immediately starts his own time travel company to stop this from happening.
Could we be the foundation to intercede time travel? Cause then we'd be fit. I wanna be fit, not fat. Kevin, god damn it.
And honestly, I can see why, as Cartman has already seen his future crumble right in front of his eyes in the episode My Future Self and Me, where after seeing Butters and Stan's future selves turn out to be fake, Cartman refuses to listen to the real version of his future self, and in the process, ends up completely destroying his life.
Just for that, I'm gonna spend my whole childhood eating what I want and doing drugs when I want. Whatever, I do what I want.
No, wait! Oh, god damn it!
And so, fearing that this would happen again, Cartman manipulates Clyde into going back in time and killing Kyle.
As an anti-vaxxer, you understand that you have to be strong and stand by your beliefs even if it means others will die. Hey, thanks.
However, for once in his life, Cartman actually decides to do the right thing, as he travels back in time with Kyle and Stan in order to kill Clyde and create a much brighter future. Although, this brighter future isn't for him, as Cartman is no longer a rabbi with a loving family, but rather now is a homeless man who spends all day yelling obscenities at those who pass him.
F you, Eric.
However, Cartman's futures aren't all bad, as Season 10's Go God Go Part 1 and 2 sees Cartman growing increasingly impatient for the release of the Nintendo Wii.
Ah! That does it! I am not waiting 3 weeks!
And so, since this is Cartman we're talking about here, he decides that he's not going to wait 3 weeks for the Nintendo Wii, and instead drags Butters along to the Rocky Mountains of Colorado in order to freeze himself, which, as you may expect, doesn't exactly go too well.
I'm coming, Nintendo.
And so, over 500 years later, Cartman is unfrozen in the future, and unsure of what's just happened, Cartman immediately sets his priorities straight.
Young man, you don't seem to understand. Your family, your friends, everyone you knew has been dead for over 500 years.
I don't care! Is there a Nintendo Wii?
Ah, yes. Who else but Cartman? However, in this version of the future, Cartman actually becomes an incredibly valuable asset, being referred to as the Time Child, and of course, in Cartman's true manipulative fashion, he's able to play every side of the atheist conflict against each other, and this is just so that he can get his Nintendo Wii.
Alright, Time Child, we filled our side of the bargain. Now return with us to Otter Bay.
Sorry, Blavius. I've got other plans.
However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows in the future, as it turns out that Cartman's trickery was all for nothing. As of course, the future has absolutely no way to connect the Nintendo Wii. And that's far from the only problem, as after Cartman's betrayal of the Sea Otters, they decide to go on an all-out attack.
And I will personally kill the Time Child and eat his entrails on my tummy.
And so, fearing for his life, Cartman realizes that the only thing that will save him is being able to contact the past, and of course, stop himself from freezing to death. However, the only way that Cartman can do this is through the novelty crank call phones, which are being advertised on future television.
I just dial a random number on the keypad, enter a date and year on the defibrillator, and...
Wow! Someone from the past is on the line!
The only problem is that these phones are incredibly expensive. And so, Cartman then decides to dress up like a future maintenance man and steal this phone from an unsuspecting victim.
Just let me use my tools.
Hey!
Haha! Stupid assholes! I got your time phone!
However, Eric's plan to contact the past doesn't exactly work, as let's just say that the Eric from the past isn't too easy to talk with.
I'm trying to do you a favor, dumbass! Just listen to me! Listen to this! Kid.
And so, with his life on the line, Eric makes one last call to Mrs. Garrison, and in the process, accidentally tells Richard Dawkins about Garrison's operation.
Sex change operation? Uh-oh. Oh! You're a man? Not anymore, I've been fixed!
However, this actually ends up working out perfectly, as thanks to this revelation, atheism was never adopted around the world, and all of the alliances as well as the space otters allow Eric to return home safely, although they sent him back a little bit too far.
But, honey, it's only September. That Nintendo Wii doesn't come out for 2 months.
What? No! No! You sent me back too far! Hey! Do it over!
And so, depending on which version of the future you believe, Eric either becomes a fat mechanic, a homeless man, or a super awesome space traveler who brings peace to all of mankind. And the next character on our list is the boy who's died 1,000 deaths.
Oh my god! They killed Kenny! You bastard!
And yes, I am of course talking about Kenny, who is honestly one of the most diverse characters in all of South Park. Having been a superhero, a soldier of God, and of course, a Japanese princess.
これはすごいチーティングです。あら、プリンセスキーニー。皆さん、聞いてきます。Ah.
And Kenny's future is honestly just as insane as his past, as it turns out that Kenny has become a multi-millionaire time-traveling scientist who is looking into the cause of the lockdown.
Stan, it's Kenny. He's dead.
Well, that is, until Kenny is found dead. And whilst this death was said to be caused by the Delta Plus rewards variant by the government, Stan, Kyle, and Cartman aren't so sure, as they start to investigate what really happened.
Think like kids again. I know where Kenny hid what we're looking for. It's up his ass.
And so, after a rather unpleasant trip to Kenny's behind later, the boys realize that the key to fixing everything is to first fix their bromance.
He spent his whole life trying to fix your broship and then realized this was the only way because you guys suck.
And so, once the boys are able to fix the future, Kenny still goes on to become a successful scientist. However, this time, it's for something much different.
Kenny just won the Nobel Prize for combining dark matter and breast implants.
Oh boy, that's our Kenny. However, with Kenny, you truly never know where his future will lie, as Kenny has been a helper for both Jesus and Satan, and can change his fate with a simple squeeze of a trigger.
Remember this time. Try and f***ing remember.
Oh my god! Holy shit, dude!
And so, before we get onto our final character, here are some honorable mentions. Jimmy Vollmer becomes incredibly successful through his comedy, being the #1 PC comic in all of the land.
Jeez, what's the deal with these Mexicans, huh? I mean, they have fabulous food, their country has amazing beaches, and they're really fantastic people.
And yeah, it's not great, but at least it's still better than Joe Rogan's last stand-up. And Tolkien, on the other hand, has taken on a far more serious role, becoming an 80s style cop show detective who uses his newfound powers of, detecting in order to help the boys get back in time.
Come on, Mr. Marsh. Ooh, it's me, Token. We know about the penguin.
And our final honorary mention is Kyle, who honestly doesn't really have the most exciting future. I mean, he does have his own online therapy business, but truthfully, his best moments in the future are when he's reacting to Cartman being Jewish.
Mikhail, Mikloshka pudding. With plots, with laughter, tea.
Stop it!
However, our final character, Randy, has much more of an impact on the future than anyone else, as whilst he's in China trying to sell them as much Tegrity as he can, he decides that it would be a great idea to make love to a pangolin. Wow, good going, Randy. And Randy's involvement in the lockdown is so severe that no matter how many times Kenny goes back in time and tries to prevent it from happening, Randy causes the lockdown in every known reality.
I f that pangolin every single time.
And it's all of this selfishness that causes Randy to end up losing everything he ever loved, which includes his daughter, his wife, and most importantly, his Tegrity. That's right, all of the crimes that Randy has committed throughout his life have ultimately left him a bitter and resentful old man, left to stew in the mess that he's created.
You tell that piece of shit that if he wants to talk to me, he can write an email. Tell that little p***y if I had any grandkids, maybe I wouldn't be so bitter at having such a little bitch for a son. Hi, Dad. Oh, hey, Stan.
Well, that is, until Randy is visited by the ghosts of his wife Sharon and his daughter Shelley, who, of course, since this is Randy's vision we're talking about here, are fully supportive of Randy and put all of the blame of their deaths on Stan.
It wasn't your fault, Randy. It was all Stan's fault.
Yes, it was all Stan's fault.
And yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what they're thinking, Randy. However, Randy's future does end up with a happy ending, as when Stan goes back in time, he delivers Randy a rather touching note, which contains the strain that he was working on in the future. Helping heal negative emotions, that Randy decides to give it out for free in the streets of South Park, which ultimately makes everyone a whole lot nicer to each other. And this also leads to Butters' parents ungrounding him and Space Jam 2 to never be made.
I'm sorry, I thought about it. And I can't do Space Jam 2. I just can't support Chinese censorship.
And of course, since Randy is essentially the voice of Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they take the time to pat themselves on the back at the end of this episode.
Remember, folks, weed can't solve all your problems, but Tegrity can. Tegrity weed.
And so, this is what happened to every South Park character in the future. And who do you think has the best future?